Now, two brave senators who have recently begun a push against current laws which fail to protect babies who are born alive during an abortion. This is a critical change because in the period from 2005 to 2015, there were 200 babies who were born alive during a termination. But the official guidelines for medical practitioners in these cases state they should not provide medical care to the baby. Matt Canavan and Alex Antic have raised their concerns, understandably, over what they say are practices that undermine Australia's commitment to human rights. Senator Alex Antic joins me now. Alex, always great to see you. So this is pretty grisly stuff. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Rowan, look, it is pretty grisly stuff, and it's, I think, one of those things people don't even realise goes on out there in the community. It's a practice, I guess, which relates to abortions and abortions that have effectively missed their target, if you like, and the babies that are born alive as a result of those. And in many states around the country at the moment, the directions given to the medical practitioner are simply to allow the child to simply die. There's no way of sugarcoating it. It's awful to say out loud, but that's just the fact. Here in South Australia, we had a late-term abortion bill which was abhorrent, just passed in the last 18 months. But one of the things that did come out of that, at least, was the protection for those born alive. So in South Australia, at least, that is not the law, but in other states that it is. And in 2016, something like 33 babies met that fate in Victoria. So this is appalling stuff. It really is staggering to most people. Senator Matt Canavan and myself, and in fact Senator Ralph Babet as well, have co-sponsored a bill which is designed to operate at federal level to ensure that babies get medical attention if they're born as a result of an abortion which failed. And really, it's hard to imagine anyone even considering anything else. I think it'll be staggering to many of your viewers that that's still the law in parts of the country.
I think it would be, and I guess the question is, why has this gone without scrutiny for so long, and what's going to happen with your bill? So it's called the Born Alive Bill, is that correct? When does it go before the Senate? Yeah,
it's got a slightly longer name than that, but that's how we call it. It's the Human Rights Born Alive Bill, and what it really seeks to do is to sort of enshrine into law some of the international treaties relating to children's rights. And look, how will it go? It's a very good question. It's a private senator's bill, so it'll be a matter for us, I suppose, to get party support. I would hope that my party, Matt's party, would support that. Parties, I should say, the coalition would support that. But we'll need to go through that process, and then it'll be an interesting litmus test for Labor and the Greens, who talk about being pro-human. We're not talking about interfering with rights relating to the procedure of abortion. We're simply talking about giving medical care to children that are born alive as a result of a failed abortion. So it strikes me as being an absolute no-brainer. Would love to see this law rolled out through the country so that we can make sure that this doesn't go on in this country anymore.
Well, Alex, all around Australia, people will be applauding you and Matt Canavan for this effort, and I hope the coalition gets behind it. Forgive me if I'm a little bit cynical, but I would hope that the coalition does get behind this, because it's clearly, as you said, a no-brainer, common sense matter of principle. There you have it. But if I'm cynical about whether the coalition will get behind it, it is because last week, when Pauline Hanson also put forward, of One Nation Party, put forward what I would regard as a very common sense, uncontroversial, quite straightforward and sensible recommendation, which was for an inquiry into what is happening with puberty blockers in the medical sphere, and what we have seen throughout the West, which is this rapid onset or increase in gender dysphoria, particularly amongst children. Now, Pauline has simply asked for an inquiry and to find out what is going on with puberty blockers. She lists a whole lot of questions that she would like answered, all of which are, as I said, uncontroversial and common sense. And this is in the light of what we've seen in the US and, more importantly, in Britain with the Tavistock Institute, which was performing a lot of this kind of transgender surgery, puberty blockers stuff on children with dire consequences, and the place had to be shut down. So given that a place had to be shut down, Alex, in Britain, it would make perfect sense to be asking, are we sure that these procedures are carried out ethically, sensibly, etc. in Australia? Yet, this bill was blocked. Now, I'm not surprised it was blocked by the likes of the Greens and the Hard Left and the Hanson Youngs and the Wongs and all that crowd. But I was pretty distraught to see Liberals, including the leader of the Liberals in the Senate, Simon Birmingham, and Andrew Bragg, who I guess I would call the bedwetters of the Liberal Party, others would call them the moderates, opposing this and saying, no, we don't want an inquiry into puberty blockers. Can you explain to me, Alex, why your colleagues would not want to see an inquiry into what is possibly an abuse of these procedures?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, just from the start there, I just say this was what I thought to be a very sensible request and something that was, once again, uncontroversial, I would have said. It was a request for a referral to the Community Affairs Committee here in the Senate. It wasn't a request for laws. It was simply a request for a dive into these issues. Things like whether puberty blockers are actually reversible, the views of parents in the education system, and a whole range of other issues which were really just for exploration, including the Tavistock decision, how that affects Australia. So it didn't strike me as being controversial. I was a little surprised that the coalition didn't support it outright, but clearly there was a divergence of views among some of our colleagues about whether or not a simple inquiry should take place. And as a result of that, it was taken as a conscience vote to allow people to vote on their conscience. I don't think it required that in this instance, but I have to say I am always grateful that the party does allow people to vote with their conscience on occasions like this. But once again, this is a serious issue, and gender dysphoria is clearly on the march. We've seen proof of that over the last few weeks. There's been evidence coming out that it's a major and growing problem. It's something that parents talk to me about all the time. So I would have thought a simple inquiry would have been a reasonable move myself.
Alexander, always great to talk to you. Common sense. And of course, we can't wait for the next time you haul someone up in the Senate there and ask them to define what a woman is. Keep up the great work and have a terrific Christmas, Alex, if we don't see you before then.